What's going on? This is your man John Fortune, your host of the Frustrated Fan Sports Show, and today I'm going to give my mid-season evaluations for the state of the team and what's happening currently. A lot of this, to me, I'm going to go all the way through the talent acquisition, to the offense, to the defense, to the coaching, and the overall health of the franchise. So I'm going to go ahead and get into it because I think that there's a lot of things you guys will agree with me on. There's a lot of things you might disagree with me on, but I'm going to go ahead and run it down. Let's start with number one, talent acquisition. Well, first thing they had to do was the free agent acquisitions. I felt that what they acquired in free agency has not been up to par when it comes to the state of the health of this offense and defense. Now, let me explain a little bit of that. You're talking about we brought in Curtis Samuel to be a number 2 wide receiver. The problem with that was that you also signed Adam Humphries. To me, Adam Humphries and Curtis Samuel are both slot receivers. You needed a big body receiver to complement Terry McLaurin. Not only that, you needed a big body receiver to complement Terry McLaurin that could make plays. They did not do that, so in turn, they ended up signing 2 slot receivers. Now, Adam Humphries has done some good things, but he hasn't been featured a lot. Curtis Samuel hasn't even been able to be on the field enough to sit up there and not, create and to be a factor in the offense and everything like that. So to me, when it comes down to it, that's a fail in regards to signing the correct guys to help this offense. Same thing applies to Charles Leno. Charles Leno Jr., that was a bad pickup. I ain't saying that he's playing bad, but he's not as stout as you would like him to be. He's getting beat by people when it comes down to it. He's being bull rushed. People are running around him. He's lost steps, and because of that, he's getting beat at times and on plays. So that was a bad acquisition. It was also a bad acquisition, too, due to the fact that he got rid of Gerard Christian, who happened to still be on a rookie deal. So they really, really didn't play that one out as well as they should have. So when it comes to the free agent ones, you're talking about William Jackson III. That was a huge failure. Huge failure. And then the fact that Ron Rivera came back and said that he's still trying to figure out the process and the offense and the defenses and everything like that. That tells me that he didn't realize that he was going to be a big of a failure as he has been. Let's talk about Bobby McCain, another failed one. Especially when you think about what you had and what you could have kept instead of being in a rush to sign guys that don't fit the scheme. Like I said, William Jackson III, that was a failure. Bobby McCain is just as bad. He's always found in a position to not make the plays he should be making. And because of that, you're seeing that this acquisition of Bobby McCain was a bad acquisition. Because of that, we now go into the draft. Now, because they didn't pick up a big body receiver in free agency, they went for one in the draft and they found De'Ami Brown. The problem with De'Ami Brown is that he's been injured so much that you don't see his impact. The same thing, you could basically put him in the same boat with Curtis Samuel. You thought you was going to have a legitimate number 2, and you end up not having a legitimate number 2 because he's injured all the time. Or he has been injured the whole time. So that is something that is a disturbing thing. You get to Jamin Davis, who's the middle linebacker. He's playing more. He's playing better. But you're talking about you could use the same terminology that people were using for the offensive side, where you build the foundation and you drop the quarterback right in the middle. Well, you could apply that same thing to the defensive side. You built the foundation, which was the front four or front five, however you want to call it. Then all you had to do was put that great middle linebacker right dead center. Well, when it comes to Jamin Davis, he was not ready. He was projected to be something else. Not only that, he should have been more of a second, third rounder versus the first rounder that we took him. I think Ron Rivera may have gotten duped into taking him because, like I said, he shot up the draft board so fast. But it wasn't because he was making plays or anything like that. It was because of his speed, his size, and what he did at the combine. Now, in comparison to that, the guy who was projected to us, he's actually doing a fantastic job in Cleveland. And because he's doing such a fantastic job in Cleveland, it's making the Jamin Davis pick look even worse. Now, in regards to the guy that I wanted, that I have been banging the tables for, that I said would be the best guy to come here, Nick Bolton, we got to see him when Kansas City came to play Washington. He had a very good game. Now, and I told you then that Kansas City was playing him wrong. Once Kansas City figures out what to do with him and how to play him, they're going to get a different player. In the Washington game, he had 9 tackles. Guess what? Kansas City moved him to the middle, gave him the play calling, and let him do what he does. The first game from him moving to middle linebacker, he had 15 tackles. His second game after moving to middle linebacker, he had 11 tackles. The guy, and not only that, he's getting high praises by his teammates. The guy has 66 tackles. That leads rookie linebackers. He also is second in the entire, he's also tied for first in the entirety of the league with 8.5 tackles for losses. That was a mistake that Ron Rivera made. He should have taken Nick Bolton, or Joker plays outside, but Nick Bolton, I said, was our guy, and he's playing fantastically for Kansas City right now. So, again, that was one that he missed on. Sam Cosmi. Again, this is a guy that I felt that Ron was going to take and should have taken, and he did take him. Samuel Cosmi has been a great standout player. The problem is that he's experiencing injuries. And I think he's missed his 3rd straight game now. So you're talking about a guy who hasn't been able to play. And they're basically trying to patchwork the offensive line because of his absence. Not only his absence, but also Cornelius Lucas' absence. But Samuel Cosmi has been a really good thing. And from everybody's everything that's being said, he will be the eventual replacement or stout lineman on the left side. We got to hope that he's able to make that transition and make that transition quickly, but we'll definitely see what happens as he goes along. Benjamin St-Juste. Now, Benjamin St-Juste has actually been a favorable pick for Ron Rivera. He's played all games. He's been on the field. He's broken up passes and everything like that. Now, my only issue with St-Juste is that he doesn't make plays on the ball. Like, he needs to grab an interception. Now, another guy, Paulson Adebayo, the guy I felt that Ron was going to actually take. Ron did not take him. He goes to New Orleans and he's having a fantastic season. The fact that Ron took a big corner that only basically breaks up plays instead of taking a guy who makes plays on the ball, that was a little bit disturbing. But I'm not going to give him a bad grade on that, because of the fact that at least St-Juste isn't getting picked on and he's not getting beat up playing opposite of William Jackson. William Jackson has been getting beat up, not St-Juste. So that was actually a fairly good acquisition. Now, in regards to everybody after that, Bates, the fact that he's not that involved as a tight end. That's a little weird and disturbing. Maybe he needs to learn more, but he's not making any type of impact. Derek Forrest hasn't been on the field to even make an impact or do anything. Not only that, he was a special teamer, which leads me to the factor of Ron Rivera. For him to draft special teams guys, he clearly thought this team was further along than what it was. So then he drafted Cameron Cheeseman. We still don't know if Cameron Cheeseman is actually doing a good job snapping the ball, because we still don't know if he's the real problem. Why some of these why Dustin Hopkins was missing kicks and stuff like that, or why Blewett kicked the balls low. I'm pretty sure that's not the reason, but still, we're not really certain if Cameron Cheeseman is really fulfilling the role that he's supposed to be fulfilling. Then you get down to William Bradley King. He didn't even make the team. He didn't even make the team. And in fact, I don't even think he's on the practice squad. I don't think. He could be, but I don't even think he's on the practice squad. And you got Shaka Toney, who's also been injured and inactive, so he hasn't really shown anything. Now you go to Dax Milne. Dax Milne, to me, is one of those situations that you sit up there and you say, wow, you know, you bring in a slot receiver after you sign 2 other slot receivers, and then you bring in a slow slot receiver. So, I mean, possession, it almost gives me the feeling of Ryan Grant when it comes to Dax Milne. So, talent acquisition in Ron Rivera's first year. Oh, and of course Jared Patterson. Jared Patterson was a delight, but he hasn't done a lot. But he's been a delight since he's gotten here. In regards to talent acquisition, I'm gonna actually give this a C plus. And the only reason I'm going to give it a C plus is because their draft acquisition basically outdid their free agent acquisition. So their draft acquisitions have been a little bit more sturdy in comparison to their to their free agent acquisitions, which haven't really seemed to be that much of a steady thing. Even though Eric Flowers was a good one, but still, again, not really what you was expecting from this team. Number 2 is the offense. My evaluation of the offense. Now, I want to say this in regards to everybody. Okay, everybody likes Scott Turner's play designs and stuff like that. I personally don't like his play calling. Some of his play design is smart, but some of his play design is not as smart as you want it to be. Prime example, the pass where Taylor Heinicke threw it behind Terry McLaurin. What y'all don't understand is that Taylor Heinicke actually saw something that a lot of you probably did not see. And that play design was terribly designed. And the reason why it was terribly designed, if you go back and look at that play, they had a 3 wide receiver set on that side. Now, they had 2 wide receivers that were covered by corners, and then Terry was also covered by a corner or a safety. Well, guess what happened? The play was called, and the wide receivers pushed their guys up the field. Nobody was there to block Terry's guy, and that guy had a bead on Terry McLaurin. Taylor Heinicke threw it behind him to try to to try to make sure he didn't get Terry McLaurin killed on a tackle that would have been made. So that was a very terrible play design. Instead of having it as a bunch formation, he had them spread out. That was a silly play design. When it comes to his play calling, that's been just as bad as well. There's been times where everybody's blaming Taylor Heinicke for situational awareness, but yet and still nobody's blaming Scott Turner for situational awareness. The reason that a lot of the stuff looks terrible and coming from Taylor Heinicke is because nobody's paying attention to how Scott is calling these plays. I told y'all in the last one, 2nd and 4. Why are you throwing a screenplay on 2nd and 4? Why did you not run the ball? That made no sense. It made no sense to do that. Now you put Taylor Heinicke in a situation that the play doesn't make any sense. It's okay to run the ball. They didn't do that. And guess what happened? It turned into a very bad play. So these are things that people need to pay attention to, and that my evaluation of the offense is that Taylor Heinicke looks... Now also, I want to say this. Before everybody harpens on bringing another quarterback in here, let's evaluate the ones that we have. Now, I will tell you this. Taylor Heinicke clearly beat out Kyle Allen. And if Taylor Heinicke beat out Kyle Allen, there's no need to want or desire Kyle Allen to come in and play. Now, here's another little caveat I want to give you guys. Nobody's talking about that both of these quarterbacks have been with Scott Turner for a while now. And if they're not playing well, why is no one sitting here criticizing the fact that Scott Turner, this is what Scott Turner develops. This is what Scott Turner has developed. You're talking about Taylor Heinicke has been with Scott Turner for about, what, six or 7 years? And then you're talking about Kyle Allen has been with Scott Turner for about 4 years. 3 or 4 years, something like that. So if these are the quarterbacks that he has developed, understand that no matter who comes in, this is the type of quarterback you're going to get. For me, I feel that Scott Turner is not the right offensive coordinator for this team. In my personal opinion, I think they should see if they could get Bill O'Brien in here and have him be the offensive coordinator, because even though he was terrible in Houston, his teams offensively were actually fairly decent, especially when he had the players and the talent out there. I do feel that Scott Turner is not the right guy to be here. Yeah, y'all can like the way he schemes certain things, but his play calling is a disaster. It does not work. Like I said, I don't know anybody that sees 2nd and 4 and automatically thinks throw the ball instead of run the ball. Just my opinion on that. Number 3 is the defense. The defense has been a very up and down group this year. I will say this, the past 2 games that William Jackson III has been out, the Autobot has been out, I've noticed that the defense has played a lot better. Also, with the transition of Landon Collins to the linebacker position, he's now our best linebacker. He just moved down. He's now our best linebacker. Again, this goes to the extent of Jack Del Rio's coaching and his ability to develop guys. I feel that Jack Del Rio is coaching, but his scheme is not making sense to a lot of the players. They're talking about this gap control type of thing. But teams have figured out that the quick passing game is the way to beat Washington. And because teams have found that out, all they're doing is employing that quick passing game to get past the defensive line. And that has been the thing. Jack Del Rio has not figured out how to adjust to that. And because he hasn't figured out how to adjust to that, it looks even worse. Now again, the past 2 games, the defense has been looking fairly good. But you're still running into the problem of not stopping plays, not stopping players from doing things. And Jack Del Rio, in my opinion, is an outdated coach. We need to find somebody who can come in here and actually grab the reins of this team and actually basically coach this defense the way it needs to be defense, so the way it needs to be so they can sit up there and get the maximum amount of talent out of this team. Because again, you're talking about a team that's extremely talented, a defense that is extremely talented, but they're not getting the most out of them. And for me, that's a problem. So for me, the defense is doing well, But you're talking about that's only 2 games. Not only that, they had a very slow start at the beginning of the season where they were getting chewed up. And that, to me, is like a bad reflection on the coaching. So that is my opinion. That is where I go. The defense. Offense, by the way, I get an offense about a C minus. The defense, I'm going to give them a C plus because they're on the uptick now. So we're going to see what happens when they come out of the bye. Number 5 is the coaching. I've said what I said about the coaching. I feel that Scott Turner and Jack Del Rio are probably not the right coordinators for this team. Like I said, Scott Turner, yes, he may scheme certain things very well, but his play calling is very inconsistent. I've said that multiple times. I keep saying that. And if you don't believe me, all you got to do is pay attention to the games and see that on 2nd and 4, he felt the need to throw the ball instead of running the ball, especially when the running game was working. You also saw that at some point he kept throwing the ball when we was close to our end zone at the beginning of the second half of the game, and clearly Ron Rivera had to step in and say, run the ball. Soon as that happened, we marched all the way down the field. Not only that, the reason you can't always blame Taylor Heinicke for what's going on in the red zone. If Scott Turner calls better plays, then guess what happens? Those plays can get executed a whole lot better and can create touchdowns. You can't scheme something that doesn't make any sense. Like, again, why would you go down to the red zone and throw the ball often in the red zone? You don't throw it often in the red zone. You have to sit up there and run the ball at times. And if you see that the run worked, run the ball again. Do something that helps Taylor not be inconsistent when it comes to the red zone. Because right now, the blame is falling on Taylor when it should be falling on Scott. I'm going to repeat this. These quarterbacks, Taylor Heinicke and Kyle Allen, have been with Scott Turner for a very long time. And this is as far as the development we have gotten out of them. This coaching staff does not develop quarterbacks. If you look into their history, they don't develop quarterbacks at all. And because of that, I wouldn't feel comfortable unless Taylor is here with drafting a quarterback, because I feel that Taylor can help the young quarterback better than Scott or even Ken Zampese. They don't develop quarterbacks. You can look in their history. You can even look at Cam Newton for all that. Cam Newton should have been the ultimate game-changing quarterback. Because you're talking about, when you think about quarterbacks and the abilities they had, you're talking about Cam Newton had size, he can run, and he had a fairly strong and solid arm. Instead, they never felt the need to develop him as a passer. Now, again, in my personal opinion, when it comes to certain coaches, that's what they do. Andy Reid, big, long track record of success when it comes to quarterbacks. Sean Payton, long track record when it comes to success. Bill O'Brien, long track record when it comes to success at the quarterback position. I don't feel that Scott is the guy. So for me, when it comes to Scott, Jack Del Rio, I don't think he's getting the most out of this defense. He's not scheming up enough plays to help them make plays. Not only that, the William Jackson thing, if the man is a man press cover, get him comfortable and just do man press with only him. Ask everybody else to run some type of modified zone. Ask him to only do man. Because again, you're not putting players in the right position for success. You're putting them in position to fail. And clearly, William Jackson is failing. Bobby McCain, the same thing applies to him. He is not a safety. What y'all should do is bring Jeremy Reeves in there or bring DeShazer Everett in there and let them take that spot. Move Bobby McCain down to the slot corner position and let him do his job. So for me, and then in regards to Ron Rivera is so inconsistent with his messaging that you see that the inconsistency is all over the coaching staff. All over the coaching staff. The entirety of the staff. And because of that, I'm going to be honest, I give the coaching a D. They need to do better, because there's no way that this team is going to turn around if the coaching isn't on the same page as the talent. Again, we saw, here's an example. Mike Shanahan did not want Robert Griffin III. Robert Griffin III was not his quarterback target. Robert Griffin III was not the guy he wanted. But they built an offense that fit his particular skills and talents. And guess what happened? He had a phenomenal rookie season. I need these coaches to understand the talent that they have on their team and utilize the strengths of their talent and basically build something that basically gets the most out of this talent. For that, the coaching gets a D. Last but not least is the overall organizational health. I feel currently right now that a lot of duties need to be taken away from Ron. I don't feel that he's the right guy to go with this coach-centric approach. I said that. I've criticized him on multiple occasions in that. I've gave him credit when he's done something good. But he was not the right guy to do the coach-centric approach. To me, Mike Shanahan was that guy. It would have been nice to have Mike Shanahan have the carte blanche that Ron Rivera currently has. And he doesn't have that. Because of that, the overall organizational health of this team is, in my opinion, very bad. We're seeing that in regards to the draft, it hasn't been the sharpest draft. His first season drafting wasn't the best. Even though he got a few guys, but it still wasn't the best. His offseason acquisitions are not the best at all. Other than maybe Eric Flowers, which he got in a trade, still, I don't think his free agent acquisitions have been the best. Overall, if we don't see a massive adjustment when we come out of the bye, this team will go another 3 years in purgatory due to the fact that Ron Rivera is not understanding what he needs to do to lead this franchise out of the pitfalls. Again, there's a lot of stuff that goes on outside of football for this organization. Ron Rivera needs to basically find a way to get us winning so all the stuff that's going on outside of football doesn't find a way to interject itself inside of football. And right now what's happening is that our organization looks very, very dysfunctional due to what's going on outside of football and what's going on inside of football. So for that, my mid-season evaluation overall, this so far they got, in my opinion, a D+. We got to see what happens when they come out of the bye. I'm worried a little bit because I feel that they might win maybe 1 or 2 games depending on who gets injured. But, and that's a sad thing to say, that we have to depend on injury to possibly win more games. But that is my grade for the midseason evaluation. They have a D+. Hopefully they can turn this around. Hopefully they can find ways to get their players in the right position. Hopefully Scott Turner finds a way to be a little bit more consistent and understand it a little bit better. We'll definitely see y'all, but this is going to be one. We're now in the bye. We'll see what happens when we come out of the bye. This has been your man, John Fortune, and this has been the Frustrated Fan Sports Show.